Alright, time for the throwing weapons. The first one is the ever-classic hand grenade. A destructive hand-thrown explosive. Works well on clusters of enemies. By the way, the weapons don't have descriptions in this game, unlike Resident Evil 5, or the non-upgradable ones at least had one. Only the melee weapons have descriptions. Alright, let's test the hand grenade out. Alright, your typical grenade explosion. Now let's test it on 2 oozes. Kaboom! Alright, so the grenade on standard ooze, close up like that, most likely insta-kill them every time. I don't know how far the blast radius goes, but if they're far from the blast, still get affected by it, they most likely will stand back up. So in some cases it may take more than a couple to kill the crowd, if that's your objective. And other enemies will be more resilient to it. One specific enemy that hand grenades are actually kind of good at is the Dragignazo. That's a good enemy to use a few grenades on. It deals some damage. Alright, that is it for the hand grenade. Now for the next grenade, the shock grenade. A hand grenade that releases a high voltage electric shock. Alright, sounds typical enough. Let's test it out. Alright, so this grenade is basically the incendiary grenade's substitute. Instead of emitting flames, it produces electricity, similar to the electricity rounds in Resident Evil 5. And this shock grenade is really useful against specific enemies in the game. Enemies that are only seen in water are greatly affected by the shock grenade. It's like insta-kill. Another good enemy to use the shock grenade on is a Scarmiglione. Alright. Now let's test the shot grenade on some ooze. Alright, so it takes 2 shot grenades to defeat an ooze. But once again, grenades are best used to, like, stun enemies in many different ways. And there always seems to be one enemy in the game that's extremely affected by each type of grenade. When it comes to the shock grenade, the best enemy to use it on is a Scarmiglione. Alright, that is it for the shock grenade. Alright, now for the next throwing weapon, the B.O.W. Decoy. A timer-based explosive that attracts creatures by using high frequencies. Alright, so this is pretty much the proximity bomb of Resident Evil Revelations. So you don't have to worry about where you place it, because enemies will go to it no matter what. However, there are a couple enemies in this game that are not attracted to it. Hunters are a pure example, so you're wasting your time if you use it on a hunter. But anyway, let's test it out. Alright, so like I said, this is the proximity bomb substitute, and it produces just as good as an explosion. Quite bigger than the regular grenade. Alright, let's test the decoy on some ooze and watch him stupidly get attracted to it. Alright, so it will take at least 2 decoys to defeat oozes, and it produces quite a bit of an explosion and funny results. They went flying. The decoys are good for almost all enemies in this game, but like I said, hunters are oblivious to it. The best enemy, in my opinion, to use them for is the Fenrirs, the wolves. Alright, that is it for the decoy. Alright, now for the last type of grenade, the pulse grenade. Delivers a powerful high-frequency pulse, causing temporary paralysis. Now, this is the flash grenade of Resident Evil Revelations. So that being said, Resident Evil 4, 5, Revelations, and 6 all had at least a hand grenade and a flash grenade of some sort. They just call it the pulse grenade in this one because it's not that classic blue flash grenade that you're used to. It's a weird type looking device. But it delivers a flashing pulse, and it stuns most enemies in this game to line you up straight for a melee move attack. Anyway, let's test it out. Alright, so once more, this isn't a killing weapon. Actually, unlike 4, 5, and 6, I don't think the pulse grenade kills anything. Right now, at this very moment, I can't think of any enemy that dies when you use a flash grenade on it. There's no such thing as parasites in this game. It's the first Resident Evil since 4 that doesn't feature parasites in the main series. I don't count spin-offs when I'm talking about Resident Evil. So, let's test the pulse grenade out to see the resulting effect, and then I'll just perform a quick melee move in the process. Alright, so as been said, the pulse grenade stuns your enemies, and in most cases will let you perform a melee move attack. Okay, I forgot to mention, the awesome thing about this grenade, the first time ever, this grenade can be used underwater. I mean, once you're underwater, this is the only grenade that's available anyway. What it's used for are those freaking annoying sea creepers that latch onto you all the time. Alright, that is it for the pulse grenade, as well as all handheld weapons. Alright, let's increase the entertainment of this review. We're moving into the firearms, and of course I'm going to start with the handguns. Now, they do not provide individual descriptions for the weapons. The description you see here is a description of the weapon category, and it changes sometimes depending on the weapon. But anyway, the handguns are described as a balanced weapon with average performance. Alright, so the first handgun is the classic Beretta Model 92F. Most people might want to call it the Samurai Edge, but the Samurai Edge was a custom Beretta. And that is not a custom Beretta, no matter what you say. By the way, the upgrade system in this game is different from Resident Evil 5. It's not like it where once you put the upgrades on, you can't remove them, otherwise you have to sell the whole gun. The upgrades in this game are detachable. That being said, I am not going to test the weapons with any upgrades. If you've seen my Resident Evil 6 weapon review, it's going to be just like that. Alright, so to test the Beretta M92F. Well, it looks like they dramatically changed the reload animation when it comes to females reloading. They reload very lowly. Alright, so the M92F is like the standard handgun of Resident Evil Revelations. Alright, let's test it out on a standard ooze. Alright, so 7 shots from the M92F to take down a standard ooze. Now, Parker already got 3 shots off from his handgun before I defeated him. Still, 7 shots, pretty typical for a standard handgun to take down a standard enemy. Could probably take between 6 and 10 shots for a standard ooze like that. Now, pincer oozes will take a lot more than that. You might want to use something like a machine gun or a shotgun on pincer oozes. But anyway, that is it for the Beretta M92F. Alright, now I'll explain in more detail what I'm going to do at the end of each weapon. Instead of cutscenes, I'm going to show that weapon class being fired by, like, the master of that category in raid mode. So, like, for example, Handgun Mastery 5, and the character who has Handgun Mastery 5, by the way, is Clive R. O'Brien. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use him, and I'm going to have him fire the M92F. But not just any normal M92F. In raid mode, you can unlock special weapons if you participate in ResidentEvil.net. Here's an example since I'm still on the M92F. It's called the Revelator. It's a level 50 Beretta M92F. And it's called Revelator because it's like the top class Beretta M92F that you can get in this game through online play. It's the best one you can get, so it has the highest statistics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the highest level of each of these weapons, and then I'm going to equip them with the master of that category, and I'm going to permanently upgrade the firing speed 5 times, because that's the maximum amount of firing speed upgrades you can put on weapons in this game when you use those permanent upgrades you earn after reaching Abyss mode. So I'm going to slap 5 of them on there to increase the firing speed to its maximum limit, And then I'm going to go even further and put a fire rate 4 on the weapon and the maximum reload speed. So I'm going to basically show you the weapon firing and reloading in its fastest possible form. So basically the endings of each weapon are going to be a speed test. That is it. So let's see the Beretta M92F fired in the fastest possible form and reloaded. Now for the next handgun, the government handgun. Now this is the most powerful handgun in the game in terms of firepower. Of course, as a major trade-off, it has a low capacity and a painful firing speed. Let's test it out. Alright, so slightly slower than the M92F, but the capacity is like terrible. You'll be reloading this weapon constantly. But other than that, it's probably a good weapon to use in campaign. Alright, let's test the government handgun on an ooze. Alright, so the government handgun only took me 6 shots to take down a regular ooze. I didn't see how many shots Parker got off his handgun, but at this point it doesn't matter. I'm not going to keep saying that, because it hardly makes a difference. 6 shots, the firepower is proven right. The government handgun is more powerful than the M92F, not by too much. So I'd probably use the M92F over the government, since the M92F I believe has more ammo. Now one more thing, a question that I answered in my Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 weapon reviews. If you're wondering why I'm shooting the chest and not going for the head, it's because I'm trying to give you the most default damage rate. And I am in normal mode, so yeah, it's going to be very default. Use my formula, add or subtract 5. 6 shots from the government handgun. Alright, that is it for the government handgun. Alright, now for the next handgun, the Glock 18. Now, this isn't the first time a Glock was featured in Resident Evil. In Resident Evil Code Veronica, I believe Chris used a Glock 17, and now they upgraded to the Glock 18. And that being said, this handgun has the lowest firepower, but it has the fastest firing speed and the highest capacity. So, it evens out. Alright, let's test the Glock 18 out. Alright, so being a Glock 18, it fires more than twice as fast than the previous 2 handguns. So, if you're looking for speed rather than power, this is definitely the handgun to use. Alright, let's test the Glock 18 on an ooze. Alright, so 10 shots from the G18 to take down a standard ooze. So this handgun is a lot weaker than the M92F and the government handgun, but there were a couple arm shots in there, so that might have contributed to that. But still, it is definitely weaker than those 2 guns. However, it fires a lot faster, so it does even out, and it has a good capacity. So some people might actually enjoy using the G18. Alright, now, I feel this is the perfect gun to show you a quick little something that you could do with the handguns. I'll show you right here. Alright, so there are some enemies in this game that could hit you a certain way, and it knocks you down, and you have to recover by spamming a button. Now, what's interesting, this game relates a lot to Resident Evil 3, for many reasons. One, because it brought back the dodging system to where you have to do a certain movement or hit a certain button right before the impact of the attack. But here's the other reason, which I love. If you remember, in Resident Evil 3, when you did a certain type of dodge where you rolled, and any handgun that you have equipped, you would fire at faster speeds. But anyway, point is, in this game, if you get knocked down on your ass, if you have a handgun equipped, you fire it much faster as you're trying to defeat the enemy who knocked you down in the first place. And you aim it one-handed, so it's pretty awesome. I was gonna do this with all the handguns to show you, but since I'm already doing speed shots at the end of each weapon, I only need to show you once. And the G18 is perfect because the G18 is already fast, and we can see even faster. You'll see it at lightning speed at the end of this, but anyway, so I'll show you right now. So yeah, much faster than this. Almost twice as fast, to be honest. But anyway, right there, you just saw how many shots it took to defeat a pincer ooze. That's why they're so damn powerful, and I'm not testing handguns on them. So anyway, I just wanted to quickly show you that, and the G18 was perfect for that. Alright, that is it for the Glock 18. Now for the next handgun, the PC-356. Now this handgun is kind of interesting because it's a slightly less firepower than the M92F, has the same firing speed, has a less capacity. But the advantage it has over the M92F is it provides more space for upgrades. So in the end, you may be able to make it better than the M92F. This is actually my favorite handgun in the game, and campaign anyway. Alright, let's test it out. Alright, so it has the same firing speed as the M92F, but it reloads much faster. Alright, let's test the PC-356 on an ooze. Alright, so 9 shots from the PC-356 to take down a standard ooze. Once again, there were a couple of arm shots, and that's probably screwing it up, because the M92F and the government, I don't think I hit the arm at all. Alright, so the PC-356 is 20 points weaker than the M92F. Although I feel that shouldn't mean it should take 2 shots more. I don't know. Fact of the matter is, the PC-356 is a little weaker than the M92F, but it just has a lot more upgrade space. You could totally compensate for that. The PC-356 is my favorite handgun. Alright, that is it for the PC-356.